Are we now live then? Hello everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Give us a thumbs up if you can. I'm Richard Payne. I work for Fusion IT. Today we're doing basically a session on Copilot, doing a bit of a demo and also setting the scene for what Copilot's all about. I've just shut the conservatory door because I'm presenting from a conservatory at the moment. Had a bumblebee flying around me a few moments ago. I've managed to usher it out, so I won't be diving all over the place. So basically, joining me on the session today is basically Dale Brocklehurst and Ed Dale, who work for an organisation called Illuminate Learning. Big brains, Microsoft trainers, and they will basically go through the session with you guys. So strap yourselves in and enjoy, and I'll hand over to Dale and Ed.
Thank you very much, Richard. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us, taking the time on this Friday afternoon. Hopefully this session will be useful for you. So I'll give you a quick agenda. So we're going to start off with looking at a quick look at intelligent recap in Teams with Copilot, which is a new feature. Then we'll jump into Outlook and look at how we can be more productive, save time. Got 3 demos: summarizing email threads in Outlook, drafting an email in Outlook, and then one that's a little bit more advanced, drafting an email based on a technical report in Outlook. Then we're going to look at everybody's favorite Excel, and we're going to analyze a financial spreadsheet in there and have a look at what we can do with that. And I will tell you, although I've been an Office user since about early 80s, I've still got no way of using the advanced functions like slices and pivot tables in Excel. So I'm really glad that Copilot now makes me a bit of an expert in Excel. Then we'll move on to one of my favorites, PowerPoint. So we'll create a quick draft presentation using Copilot. And then again, a little bit more advanced, we'll create another sales presentation in Copilot, using Copilot in PowerPoint, but this time we'll base the presentation on a Word document. So we're going to actually pull information out of that Word document into PowerPoint and use it to create a presentation. And then in Word, we're going to compare the 2 ways, because there are 2 ways that you can use Copilot in Word, and we'll compare not only the ways that you can use Copilot, but also the results that you get, because they do differ slightly. And I'll explain that a little bit more when we get to that section. And then we'll give you a real life example. So we're going to assume that we're recruiting somebody new. We want to sit around and create some interview questions. And so we'll create a load of interview questions based on a specific role in Word. And then if we do get any time, if I talk too quickly and we get finished quickly, we'll have a look at Copilot in Edge. Now, a little bit disclaimer, just to set your expectations. If you have watched any of the demo videos for Copilot online, you will have the impression that it's almost instantaneous. In reality, most of these videos are actually edited to take out the part, firstly, where the prompt is being typed, or where Copilot is searching, or where it's generating a document. Now, it's still way, way faster than doing things manual, but I just wanted to manage your expectations because we will be doing this in real time on my home broadband, which isn't very fast. And the only thing I will do is I have my prompts prepared in a document, and that's simply because I'm a 2-finger typist and I'm really slow, and you really don't want to sit there on Friday afternoon watching me type prompts 1 letter at a time. So I have got them in, so I'm just going to cut and paste it just to make things flow along a little bit quicker, and because I really want to get all of these demos in. Now, we know Copilot, it's here at last, and there are various versions which can be a little bit confusing. So we have Copilots for Windows 11, Copilot for consumers, Copilot on iOS and Android devices, and obviously we have M365 Copilot for enterprise, education and business customers. Now, the main differences are that only the M365 versions of Copilot can access your work files. Only they have the security, the privacy and the compliance controls, and these are the only versions that are integrated into the M365 apps. The other versions are very similar to the way that ChatGPT works, and they work exclusively on internet content, not your internal files and documents. So just so you know why that is. So those of you that are probably the same age as me will remember Clippy. He was introduced in Office 97. That was Microsoft's first attempt at providing a smart assistant. And now, 25 years and $11 billion later, we have M365 Copilot, a fully functional cloud-based AI assistant, which does introduce a whole new way of working. So around creativity, productivity, and upskilling you all. Now, the AI powered tools do represent an enormous opportunity. So this is from feedback from customers. 64% of people have struggled with finding time and energy to get their work done. I suspect it's much higher than that. I don't know anybody at all that gets to 4:30 in the afternoon and says, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to watch Netflix for the next hour. We now have 3 times as many Microsoft Teams meetings since February 20. We have meetings about meetings, we have follow-up meetings. And 70% is the share of people who would like to delegate as much as possible to AI to lessen their workloads. And on a positive front, there's twice as much likelihood of a leader to say AI will provide value by boosting productivity versus leaders who say AI will allow them to cut the headcount. So it is positive all around. Now, it's important to understand that the Microsoft Cloud runs on trust, and trust has been a fundamental promise that Microsoft have built into the cloud since the very beginning. And there are basically 3 fundamental promises that Microsoft make to you. First, your data is your data. It's not Microsoft's data, it's your data. That means it's yours to own and control, and you choose how you want to use it. Second, your data is not used to train or enrich any of the foundation AI models that are used by others. So your data is kept private. Only your organization benefits from your data and business processes. And third, in fact, your data and AI models, in fact, your entire organization are protected every step by the most comprehensive enterprise compliance and security controls in the industry. And they are GDPR compliant, they are EU data boundary compliant. And that is Microsoft's commitment to you, and a commitment that should give you the confidence to leverage the power of AI in your business. So we talked about compliance, and I mentioned it was compatible with GDPR and EU data boundary. Privacy, the same. There's advanced encryption and security features. And again, it's compliant with the various industry standards. And above all, it's responsible AI. So it's ethical, transparent, and accountable. And you'll see this in the demonstrations that sometimes it will say what the limitations of Copilot are. And as part of those privacy controls, remember M365 Copilot cannot access any files stored locally on your device, and it will only access files that you personally have permission to access. So if you want to ask Copilot how much your boss earned last month, it won't work unless you happen, of course, to be the boss. So it's only information that you have access to that Copilot can give you access to. It doesn't give you any additional rights at all. And your cloud, your documents basically need to be in the cloud. And apart from those pillars that I mentioned around security, compliance, transparency, etc., as I mentioned already, one of the big differences is Microsoft 365 Copilot is built into the Office apps. So that gives you much tighter integration. And let's have a look at that now. So I'm going to run through some demos. As I said, just to speed things along, I have got my prompts in a document, and that's purely because I'm a really slow typist. So what I'm going to do first is I'll just close those down. I'll stop sharing that screen there. Spare me 2 ticks. Okay, so what you can see here is Microsoft Teams. Just got a notification that there's a message there. All right, just to remind everybody that the meeting is being recorded. Thank you, James, or James is note taker. So this is one of my recent meetings in SharePoint. And as you'd expect, we've got the meeting recap there, all the files that I've shared. We've got the 2 recordings for the 2 halves of the meeting because it was quite a long meeting. And then if you click on the recap, this is essentially where AI and Copilot does its magic. So underneath the recordings there, you can see we can now search for any part of the recording by any of the speakers that were involved in that meeting. And that will take me straight to, if I click on this bit, it'll take me straight to the part that gentleman spoke. I can also do it by topics now. So it analyzes the video, and this is a training on SharePoint. And again, I can go straight to the part of that. If I want to understand the process of document collaboration and auto update, I can go straight to that. AI automatically summarizes because we've got the transcript of the whole meeting, but that records every single thing that was said for 3 hours, and we may not want to go all the way through there. So AI literally summarizes it, what I talked about, what other people talked about, what the follow-up tasks were. Now we can also use Copilot. Say, for instance, we missed the start of this meeting. We can ask Copilot, did we talk about queries? And what Copilot will do is Copilot will actually go through that transcript, scan it really quickly, and generate a response saying either it was mentioned, who mentioned it, or it wasn't mentioned. There you go. Yeah, we talk about queries briefly. Dale was explaining how to set up document approval process using Power Automate. He said that we can create a new template from scratch, blah, 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 blah. So that's a really quick way. And you can do this actually while a meeting is in progress. So if you join the meeting late, or if you couldn't join the meeting at all, but you were invited to it, you can go back in and ask Copilot, let me see if there were actually any follow-up tasks. I just want to make sure that nobody allocated me any jobs that I missed. And again, it will go through the transcript, it will scan it, and it will look for anything. Oh yes, there you go. So Dale said he would share the link. Massimo said he would look at the investigation. Sarah said she would email Massimo. So even though I wasn't there on the meeting, or I missed the end of the meeting, so I didn't know the follow-up ones, that gives me a quick summary and a way of me asking questions about that meeting, even though I wasn't there. So it's a really powerful feature for when we use. And again, obviously this depends on the meeting being recorded, but a lot of powerful things you can go in there. So you can just look here at a particular section of the video. You can look at when a particular person spoke. You can read a very short, quick recap, or you can ask specific questions about what took place, what was agreed, what was discussed in the meeting. Okay, we'll just move on to so I'm just going to open up Outlook. Oh, that wasn't good. There we go. So one of the things that you will find in Outlook is if you've got long email discussions, I mean, this is a relatively short one, but there's quite a lot of backwards and forwards in it. And imagine if you're on a team and you're having this discussion and there's I don't know, 12 people involved. This could be 30, 40, 50 different emails. So what we can do, if we just want to refresh on where we were, we can hit summary by Copilot. That will go through and it will scan all of those emails and it will pull out a very short summary of all of those conversations for me. And again, it's going through now, it's scanning those, looking for those key points. There we go. Not only does it give me the key points, but it also references which of the emails those key points is in. So if I want to carry on this conversation, I know exactly what's happened. This was a service inquiry, and I can see that the last email says that the support ticket was closed. Yeah. So really quick way of summarizing long email threads. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to open a new email. I'll just make it full screen so you can all see it a little bit easier. Now you'll see one of the things that comes up straight away is a draft with Copilot. If I click in there, you'll see I have these two controls at the bottom. Now I can set the tone of the email to either direct, neutral, casual, formal. I've never tried make it a poem. I can set the length of it to short, medium, and long. Now, what I want to do is I want to email one of my customers, Sean, who got in touch with me recently with an inquiry about Microsoft Defender. I want to tell him I'll arrange a meeting to answer any questions that he may have. But I want to pull out some basic information from the internet on Microsoft Defender as well. So draft an email to my customer, Sean, thank him for his recent inquiry, outline the main features of Microsoft Defender for Business, and I'll arrange a meeting next week. Now, what it'll do, it will generate that email, but it will also in the background go on the internet and do a search for the main features of Defender for Business, for say me typing them out. It says, thank you for your recent inquiry, blah, blah, blah. Talks a little bit about Microsoft Defender for Business, the main benefits of it. Then says, I'll arrange a meeting next week. Please let me know your availability, blah, blah, blah. Now, I've got a couple of options. I can keep that email. If I don't like it, it doesn't quite do it, I can regenerate it. It will go back again. It will make the same inquiry on the internet, but it'll reword it slightly differently. Or I can just scrap that email altogether. So it comes back again, very similar to the one before, just worded slightly differently. And again, I can tweak it here. So I'm going to discard that email. And I'm going to go on to draft with Copilot again. I've got a slightly more complicated one. So in this scenario, I work for the company that's about to install VPNs in an IT office. And what I want to do is I want to introduce myself in an email. I want to give them a little bit of knowledge about VPNs and explain that we'll be implementing one. And then I also want to arrange a meeting with them, but I also want to attach a document and I want to make sure that they actually read that document there. So most of the meeting will be based on the attached report. So I need to attach that report. So I go to here to attach a file. The file's in the cloud, which means I've now got to find it. Just bear me 2 ticks. So now click attach, and you should see in a moment it comes up with, there's the attachment there. I click generate. So this gives me a little bit of an introduction, but it doesn't actually say enough of what I want to say about VPN. So what I'm going to ask it now is I'm going to update this prompt, and I'm going to ask it to reference some of the information in the document by saying, can you add some more information on the benefits of challenge? So I'm going to ask it to generate the email, but I'm also going to ask it to base it on the attached document. So now it adds an explanation of what a VPN is, how it protects your data, what the challenges are. It says that I've attached the report. All I want to do now is to just make sure that they understand that they need to actually read that report before we make their visiting on site, and ask them to pay special attention to the section on best practices. So again, this is now going to go back and it's going to scan that attached document, and it's going to pull out that statement from there and add it into. So again, it gives me the benefits that are based in that document, the challenges. And it says here, a presentation will be based on the meeting. We'll assume you've read the report provided. Please pay special attention to the section on implementation. We'll be discussing this in more detail during the meeting. Please let me know if you have any questions. And that's it. And it's pulled all of that out of the attachment. Now all I need to do is put in the sender's email and click send, and that's it. I'm done. So that's a new feature, because normally if you were doing this without Copilot, you would have to go through your document and cut and paste and put it in and then attach it. Now we can do everything. We can automate the whole process through Copilot. Okay, so let's have a look in Excel. Just give me 1 second. Let me load the prompts for this. Okay, so we've got this spreadsheet. So in this scenario, I'm the director of finance, and I want to look at this Q1 marketing report. A couple of things I can do. A couple of things you need to know is that Copilot will only look at your information in a spreadsheet if it's in a table. If it's not in a table, it won't recognize it and it can't analyze it. Now, what you can do is you can select your document and simply go up here and select format as table. And then it will format it. You can see these drop downs at the top, and then Copilot will work on it. So if I open now Copilot, and again, this is really essentially a way of becoming an absolute whiz at Excel without having to do all of the courses. So straight off, it will come up with some options to add formulas, highlight certain sections, sort and filter, analyze, and it will come up with, yes, Richard, it is. It will come up and it will offer you there also some prompts. It suggests show data insights, show formulas, how can I filter? So what I want to do is I want to ask it to create a pivot table based on some of those columns. So I'm going to put a prompt in to analyze the total revenue generated by each campaign type. So what it'll do is it will then scan the spreadsheet. It will turn the answer into a pivot table, and it will create a new tab for me. And it will also give me some insights into that as well. So it says what it's done there. Total revenue for digital market is 45,000. Brand marketing, 19,000. Customer experience, 12,000. I simply click add new sheet if I want to use it. Now, what it has done is it's created a pivot table, but I didn't really give it the proper prompt, because what I wanted it to do was create a pivot table, but also a visualization. So what I'll do now is I'll just ask it to create a chart in sheet 2, referencing that pivot table that I just did. Again, I don't need to know how to work out pivot tables. I don't need to understand anything Excel. All I need to know is what do I want to achieve. As long as I know what I want to achieve, what figures I want to see, I can do all of these things in Excel. So again, it's created a new chart. It's given me a little bit of feedback around it. So I'm going to go add that to a new sheet. Now you'll see now in sheet 3, I have both the pivot table and the chart. In sheet 2, I have that chart. I no longer need that, so I can delete that one. Now you'll notice when I try and type anything in the prompt now, because I'm not in the table itself, it won't actually let me. So I need to go back to sheet 1. What I'm going to ask it to do now is calculate some ROI based on the numbers in the sheet. And one of the things I really like about this in Excel is it actually creates a formula for you, but it will also explain how that formula works. So if you wanted to use that same calculation in a different spreadsheet, you'll know how the formula. So it's not only doing it for you, it's actually working it out. So it's added that now. So it's now added an ROI. And because it's in a table and it's on a drop down, I can now filter the whole table by that. And you'll see it now says select data in an Excel table. So always, if it refuses to work, it's because you haven't selected the table. So I can select show data insights. And again, you can keep going through these pre-formatted tags till you get all of the information that you need. So you don't even need to know the prompts because it will actually suggest prompts itself. So I'm going to add that one to a new sheet. And again, I've got my 2 sets of data there now. If you want these in one, it's quite easy to copy and paste one to the other. If you wanted to use them in a PowerPoint, if you were presenting this, again, easy to do that. If I go back up to the very top, go back on my original sheet and select Analyze. There we go. It will re-look at it and it will give me a fresh set of prompts. If there's nothing there that I actually want, I can click refresh and it will keep coming up with new prompts. So it's giving me a suggestion there for another new column. So we can keep going through this just using the presets and the prompt suggestions that are actually in there. The great thing about this is you don't need to use formulas. You can actually just literally tell Copilot what it is you want to do. So I might say to it, add an additional column that totals up column B, column C, and column D. I don't even have to put the table names in there, and it will know exactly what I mean. It will look at it and it will add an additional column and automatically total those up. So as I say, with Excel now, as long as you know what it is that you actually want to do, you can do it with straightforward English commands as well. Okay, so let's move over to PowerPoint. So one of the great things about Copilot, especially in PowerPoint, is there are 2 ways you can use it. One is you can use it to create a draft. So again, if I just click Copilot, it will come up and it will tell me what it can do. So what I want it to do, I just want to create a 5-slide presentation on Microsoft's sustainability program, and I want it from 2020 to 2050. And now what it'll do is it'll go away and it'll look on the internet find out what Microsoft's sustainability program and goals are for those years. It'll bring them back in and make up 5 draft slides, and it will also pull in images, but on top of that it will add speaker notes. So this is only the start of it, and again, because it's AI, we can use designer, so we can choose different pictures in there, even the suggested ones, or we can actually search the internet on there. We don't like any of the pictures. I don't particularly like that one. I like that one better, fits better in. And again, we can use designer for all of these features. So it's a really quick and easy way of creating drafts. Obviously we can go in and we can change the fonts and the pictures and the text and everything else, but it's much better than starting from a blank canvas with writer's block and I don't know what to talk about. And it has, you can see, it's actually, if I expand this here, you can see it's put in notes on all of the slides as well. And if I don't like the one that it's prepared, I can simply go back and say to it, create the whole thing again. So the other way we can do it is I'm going to select File and New. We'll start a blank presentation and we'll go to the, oh, did say my internet wasn't the fastest. Copilot. So one of the options now is we've created a presentation. We're now going to create presentation from file. What we can do for this is sometimes it won't find the file in your recent documents. So what I'll just show a quick workaround for that, just in case it happens to you. So this is the file we're going to base the PowerPoint on. What I can do is we can click share, copy the link to it. And this is essentially saying to Copilot, this is where the file is. I'll close that down and I'll paste the link into the prompt box. So I'm essentially saying create a presentation from that file that I just showed you. And what it'll do is it will go in and scan the information in that Word document and it will create a PowerPoint presentation based on that. It keeps you aware of the progress, as you can see in there. So it's doing market trend reports, social media sensation, viral reel, key factors, market position and conclusion. And these will be the sections in the presentation. Now, obviously, in your case, you could do this just based on any of your work documents. It's great when what happens is somebody says, I want you to do a presentation and they send you the presentation information in a Word document. Now, normally you would cut and paste it, search for all the images. But if you don't have time for that, what you can do is you can get Copilot to do all of the hard work. Now, again, we can go to Designer, which is another AI based, and you can see we've got a choice of video backgrounds. I'll take this one here for the agenda. What do we want for an agenda? We'll take that one. It looks quite fruity in its colours. Social media. We'll take that one there. And then again, there's a number of options if we go back to Copilot. So I'm going to ask it to organize the presentation. What I'll basically do is just cut it down into sections. At the moment, it's one big presentation. So I'm going to say, so can you break this down just into sections? Right, it tells me that it's grouped it into 3 sections: the introductions, the key factors and the impact, and you can see there it's put in a title slide for the different sections. And now one thing I'm going to ask it finally is just to put a Q&A, a slide in for a Q&A at the end of it. And it should pop that in right at the end and then move me to that slide. It didn't do very well, actually. Let's get to do it again. There we go, that's better. Now, just in order to prepare myself for the Q&A section, I'm going to ask Copilot to have a look at the presentation and suggest what questions it thinks might be asked during the presentation. And then what I'll do is I'll drop those into the notes on this Q&A slide so that I know I'm prepared when the Q&A comes. So it comes up with 5 questions there, always gives you a little copy icon. Drop that into there, paste it in. There we go. And again, it's actually come up now because I've asked questions about it with some suggested questions. So it will also answer those questions as well. So if I ask it, what is the target audience for this? It will scan the report and it will come and give me the answers. So I could actually populate my Q&A slide with questions and answers that have been generated by Copilot. There you go. And again, I could copy that and drop that into the notes. So it just helps me be prepared for when I'm presenting this. And if I've got a Q&A, because I may not actually be familiar with all the contents of this, as I've only just generated it. So lots of options in there for using AI in Designer and using AI in Copilot. And I think you'll agree, a massive time saving. Although it's only 17 slides, that was literally 2 or 3 minutes to do all of that. Okay, so let's move on a little bit more to just bear me with 2 ticks. Let me close that down and move across to Word. Oh, never a good sign. What happened there? Give me a second. Word seems to be giving me a hard time this afternoon. There we go, we start fresh. And it works. Okay, so there are 2 ways that, as I mentioned right at the very start, of using Copilot in Word. One is you can use it from this icon here. 2 is just as you did in PowerPoint, you can use it from the prompts on the right-hand side. Now, they differ slightly in the results that you'll get. So if I give you an example, if I put, so in this scenario, I'm looking at comparing heating systems for our office. So I'm going to put a couple of questions specifically about that. So I want to ask about how do I change from an existing boiler system to a furnace system in a commercial building? And this will give you, so the one on the right, the Copilot pane, will go onto the internet and have a look, and it will give you short summary answers. If I put another question in, what is an average cost for a boiler for a building that's built in the 70s? I'll put that in there. Okay, so it says the average cost can vary and gives me a minimal answer. So if I group all of my questions together instead of putting them into the Copilot pane one at a time, what I'll do is I'll explain who I am. So what I want to know, I'm thinking about possibly replacing the current boiler system. This time, rather than asking a question, I'm going to ask it to write a report. So it should give me same questions, but it should give me a longer answer. Okay, so you can see it's been now, and again, it's been out onto the internet. It's looked up that specific information. I told it who it was, so it's telling me who the report was for. It's going to answer all of those questions, but because I asked it for a report using Copilot, as opposed to asking it for specific questions, as I did on the right-hand side here, it will now give me a much more comprehensive result. Just for Reese's, it won't use a CSV file unless it's in a table. No, and it has to be in the cloud as well. Can Copilot only work on one table at a time? Yes, it can. Yeah, it can use one source of data at a time. Unless you were to put those tables into effectively one big table. So it does have limitations in that there are only limited questions that you can ask it bundled together. So you couldn't bundle together 100 questions and put them into Copilot. Same with data. Same with attaching documents. So you can only have 2 document attachments if you want to, for instance, in PowerPoint, if you wanted to reference an external file, you can only have 2 files at the time. However, what you can do is you can ask Copilot to chain together the answers from one query. So say, for instance, I wanted to compare in Word a different number of CVs and get round the limit of 2. I could ask Copilot to compare 2 CVs, decide which was the most suitable, and then I could ask it to compare 2 more, and then I could ask it to compare the best of each one. So I'm actually getting it to compare 4 at a time. So you can get it to compare going forward more than one thing. So with your table, Christina, you could, if you were making a comparison between stuff in tables, you could ask it to remember the results from one table and compare it to another table, but you can't get it to work on multiple tables at the moment. And I say at the moment because Copilot is still very much a work in progress. There are new features being added to it each and every month. So each month it will do new things. So just the fact that it can't do it now doesn't mean in April or May or whenever the next update is, it won't be able to do it then. It's constantly getting new functions added to it all of the time. Okay, so that gives you can see here in this a lot more comprehensive answers. In fact, we've got a little chart in there about the average costs. So again, we can go back and we can always hit regenerate it if it didn't give us the answers that we wanted it to do. But that shows you there, if you do Copilot in the pane, you'll get a relatively short answer. So you maybe only want to look something up. If you want to put it into a document or a report, change the prompt, do it in Copilot in Word, and actually ask it for a report as well. What we do now is I'll take a new one. So just bear with me 2 ticks again. So what we're going to do now is, in this scenario, we're going to do some interviews, but we need to prepare the interview questions. So without reference to anything else, I'm just going to ask Copilot to create a list of the 15 best interview questions that should be asked to a candidate. I'm going to tell her what the criteria is. It's a new senior animation designer, and it's for this company, the Graphic Design Institute. And I've got one specific. I want it to include a question about having failed at a project and what the interviewee learned from it. Now, this will take for 15 questions about 2.5 minutes when I last timed it on my internet. Oh, there we go, it's going already. Now, the interesting thing about this is it not only creates the question, but it also tells you why it's added that question and what the best answer would demonstrate. So it wouldn't really be much good if it just said, these are 15 questions and you didn't know why you were asking those particular questions or why that question was important. Now, again, it will generate these 15 questions. We can add specifics to it. So if we wanted to add something about team leadership, we can ask it a specific question about that. At the end of it, when it reaches the end of the list, we can always say, are there any other questions that you think should be added to this list? (14, 15). And again, we can regenerate it and it will give us a new set of lists. The great thing about doing this in Word is we can now collaborate. We can pass this on to our colleagues in HR and say, is there anything else that you think should be added to that list? And also, if we want more than 15 or we want alternative questions, we could add a prompt that says, are there any other questions that you think should be added to this list? So I just close that down now. So all of these questions have all essentially relied on my prompts. So what I'm going to do is, problem is what do you do if you don't know what the actual prompt is? So I can go to Copilot in Edge, and funnily enough, you can actually ask Copilot what is the best prompt. So what I want to do is, so you can see now I'm still protected. So I've still got all those compliance and security regulations because this is in my work account. I've got a choice of whether I can be creative, balanced, or precise. So I'm a teacher now in my role, and I want to ask Copilot, what's the best way to make a prompt to create a school lesson for 10-year-olds? What Copilot will do is it'll go up and research it on the internet, and it will come back and give me what the ideal prompt for Copilot should contain. I know it's saying, like, your prompt should include objectives, time allocation, activities, materials, differentiation, assessments. It's actually telling me this is what you want to include if you want a good prompt. So based on that, I'm going to enter a prompt that asks me to create a lesson plan for 10-year-olds based on the Roman invasion of Britain. I'm going to put in the criteria that Copilot suggested. So it's a longer prompt, but it's a more accurate, which means I'm more likely to get the answer that I want. So it comes back and gives me all of the answers, tells me the timing, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 10-minute debate at the end of it. And then it tells me that I should create a short quiz. Again, I've got the option to copy all of that. Now, if I wanted to, I could copy that, put that into Word, and then open Copilot in Word and ask Word to create a 10-question quiz based on that document. So really quick, what would normally take, I don't know, probably about an hour to create a lesson plan with all those different elements in it. So it's got there the history, it's got key Roman leaders, it's got a class debate and suggests how that should work. It's got what the objectives are, what the background are, the introduction, everything. So a comprehensive lesson plan there, which is literally 2 minutes. So that gives you a really good example of how you can be much more productive and save time. And again, also, if you're not sure on how to do any of the prompts within any of the documents in Copilot, or you've got questions like Christina and Reese had today, just go into Copilot and Edge and ask, can Copilot do this? How do I do this in Copilot? What is the best prompt to do this? There is also as well a Microsoft website called Copilot Lab, which if I just join that up very quickly, if it gives me a chance to, yeah, there it is. This gives you all help and prompts for Copilot. Tells you, gives you tips for better prompts, frequently asked questions, a whole bunch of information there. You can go by specific apps and applications, how to do certain things. There's a whole bunch. That's called the Copilot Lab. You just do a search for Copilot Lab. And that's it. Despite all my best efforts, I've run out of time. So I shall hand back over to Richard. I'll just open up. If you
Thank you, Dale.
You're welcome, sir.
That's fantastic.
Okay, sir.
So thank you, Dale, for that excellent demonstration of the capabilities of Copilot. Couple of things I just wanted to mention. On our website, on the Fusion website, there's a section called the Node, which is a load of blogs that I write, and there's quite a bit of content on there about Copilot, its launch, updates about what Copilot's capable of, etc. Some videos you can watch in addition to the demo that Dale has done today. And then I have a couple of documents I'm willing to share with people. There's a Copilot prompt guide from Microsoft, which is quite handy with some key things that to look out for when doing prompts, in addition to obviously looking at the stuff that Dale's mentioned there in the Copilot Lab. And then there's another document called Ready for a New Way of Working document, basically another one about Copilot, which kind of sets the scene and covers and summarizes some of the things that Dale has shown there, and also has a case study of how they implemented it at Scottish Water. So I hope you've enjoyed the session today. If you have any questions, please reach out either on the number that's on the slide there that Dale's just posted, or if you wish, on an email. Perhaps you could use the Microsoft Edge Copilot to construct your email to ask the questions. I don't know. That's just an idea off the top of my head. But there you go. So I hope you've all enjoyed it. I understand we've had a number of questions come in. I know I think they've all been answered apart from mine, which was just about where we have a design slide for PowerPoint, Dale. So we've already got an existing color scheme, logo, and font and everything. If I use Copilot, can I ask it to design it within that framework, the presentation, utilizing those kind of treatments?
Again, not at present.
Right.
But that's not to say I've seen this particular question being asked online of Microsoft. If we've got brand guidelines, can we reference the brand guidelines when changing these or when creating these? At the moment, no, it creates a generic slide set. But if you've got, for instance, I was doing a PowerPoint slide, I can use a Microsoft template and copy the content into that. So it's still quicker than creating it from scratch. As I say, Copilot is always to be viewed as a work in process. As people ask for specific features that Microsoft maybe didn't think of at the start of this, things like brand guidelines, which is obviously very important, to use certain colors, certain fonts, certain images, certain logos, etc. I'm pretty sure they will all be incorporated to it. It's being updated literally week by week and month by month.
Yeah, great. That's excellent. So I don't really think I've got anything further to add other than we partner with Tech Data, who are one of the largest distributors in the in the UK, basically, of software and hardware and stuff. They're offering a free Copilot sort of fitness health assessment sort of check of people's networks if you've got over 30 users, to see how it could benefit you. I'm probably just scared Sabrina there by just saying we'll do it for free. Sorry, funded assessment. She's just texted me. Funded assessment. So basically, there is some assessment. There is some help. 30 users is the minimum count where you can have an assessment done, which is funded to see how Copilot could benefit your organisation. So there's a potential leg up there almost immediately. So there you go, everyone. I hope you had a good session there. Thank you very much to Dale for the presentation, Ed for picking up some of the questions, Sabrina for helping me get this session organised, much appreciated. And I hope you all have a great weekend and enjoy the sunshine, which has just come out. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.